Howdy, welcome to Dakota Cowboy here on Beck TV, presented by Dakota Community Bank and Trust. I'm Wild Bill, your host, the media director at the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame in historic Medora. This weekend, I will have spent 7 years as the media director there, and I'm looking forward to 7 more. It's been a heck of a ride. We're presented by Dakota Community Bank and Trust, and we'd like to congratulate Mortgage Loan Officer Amy Antone. Amy was recently recognized as the Volunteer of the Year by the Dickinson Area Chamber of Commerce. Way to make us proud, Amy. Mortgage Loan Officer Amy Antone of Dakota Community Bank and Trust. We want to remind you that you can turn on Beck TV this summer and catch a lot of NDRA rodeo action. Next up, the Bowman County Fair and Rodeo on May 27th. We're looking forward to that rodeo and all the others on the schedule. Yes, we have exciting NDRA rodeo action all summer long here on Beck TV. Coming up on the program today, can you believe Tisa Peak is at a ranch in a barn? If you know Tisa and you're a fan of Dakota Cowboy, you know that that is very, very likely. Tisa visits with a young lady who is a barrel racer. She's a livestock enthusiast. She's a rancher. She's a mom, and she's a wife, and she's a former state's attorney. How does her experiences in the arena and on the ranch help her in the courtroom? Tisa Peak uncovers that with Nici Meyer of Berthold, North Dakota, coming up on the program. Then we travel to Hebron, North Dakota, and visit with one of the founding members, well, the founding board member, I should say, of the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame, Bob Tibor. And we barely skim the surface as we are getting back to the early days of the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. I'm proud that Bob's on the program today and looking forward to having him on the program again in the very near future. And then our North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame Hall of Honorees inductee of the week is Herb Birdsall, who is Tisa Peak and Nici Meyer's great-grandfather. We're looking forward to finding more about Herb Birdsall coming up on the program. So dial up the neighbors, tell them to drop what they're doing, and turn on Beck TV as Dakota Cowboy starts now, presented by Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
Man has worked in sync with Mother Nature since the beginning of time. Relying on her to provide sufficient moisture every growing season is a roll of the dice. You can now insure your pastures and rangelands with Rainfall Index policy available from Chamely Financial. This will give you the peace of mind by knowing you will be protected from the adverse effects of Mother Nature. Contact Chamely Financial today, 719-338-3428, or go to chamelyfinancial.com.
We're the ladies of Another View. Join us at 9 a.m. weekday mornings.
We'll discuss issues you care about from local and national perspectives.
You'll hear unique stories from fellow North Dakotans, plus topics in the national spotlight.
Start your day off right with Ladies of Another View.
Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Beck TV and online at beck.news.
Beck News is your leader in local. Beck specials and live information for you. Original programming. Exclusive local sports. Beck is local for you. Uncensored topics and uncensored opinions. Unapologetic politics, where all sides are represented. Full episodes online anytime at beck.news. All in one network. Your leader in local, Beck News.
Whether you have guns, ammo, vehicles, toys, or collectibles, consign with Last Chance Auction and we can help put money in your pocket. Give us a call at 334-SOLD or visit lastchancesd.com for upcoming auctions.
Hi, Rich from Law Motors. 45 years ago, Dad started selling cars. 35 years ago, I started selling cars. And 15 years ago, Tyler started selling cars.
And I'm Mom, and I told all of them, just be nice.
JR's Auto Body and Truck Collision has built a reputation as one of the most reputable and reliable body shops in this region. With nearly 30 years in business, customers count on JR's to get it done right the first time. They'll work with your insurance company to smoothen the process. From their 40-foot frame straightening machine, Sickens paint, and the latest technology in the repair industry, they're the only name you need to know. For auto, semi, RV, and trailer repair, it's JR's Auto Body and Truck Collision. North Dickinson, call 701-483-6778. JR's Auto Body and Truck Collision. We're back here on Dakota Cowboy, presented by Dakota Community Bank and Trust. Without the community, they're just a bank. Well, she's a sixth-generation rancher, a longtime livestock enthusiast, plus she's a barrel racer and a wife and a mother. And she's a former state's attorney. We will learn the ties between education, running a business, and the rodeo industry, and how all this helped her in the courtroom. Tisa Peak of Dakota Horse Magazine now visits with Nici Meyer just outside of Berthold, North Dakota.
Hi everybody, I am with Nici Meyer. We are outside of Berthold, North Dakota. And the reason I'm here today is because Miss Nici has a long history of being involved with the ranching industry, agriculture, and not only that, she's an attorney. And a while ago, was it 10 years or so ago, you were the state's attorney in Bowman?
Yeah, I think from 2002 to about 2012, I was the state's attorney down in Bowman and Slope counties.
And now you're in Berthold, you've lived in Mandan. So I was gonna talk to Nici today and her family because she came back to her roots and she's raising cattle again. We're in calving season and we're gonna go look at some of those babies and just get to the heart and soul of somebody that was born and raised in North Dakota and has come back producing livestock.
Yes.
So what can you say has been your path that's led you to come back here after being in all these places, being an attorney and going through this? What's your story?
Well, you know, I grew up, I'm an only child, so I grew up doing everything on the ranch. Of course, I was a horse crazy girl. So in order to keep track of me when I was little, they just kept my pony in the yard because then they knew I wouldn't take off. And I love outside. I love just absolutely love the outdoors. And just really, it's kind of a weird thing to say, or you hear it all the time. I am really much a country girl. I love to be outside. I'm not somebody that ever wanted to go to the city. But when I was growing up, I also knew that I had to have a different path for myself in order to supplement income, to have some additional income during the hard times, because with ranching and farming, it's not always ups. Even when the markets are up, hay's expensive, feed's expensive, it could be a drought. So I went off and went to college and got my law degree.
And you also college rodeo.
I did college rodeo.
That also brought another opportunity, and you could go to different state, Montana, and get a degree.
I went out to Miles Community College, small start, which was amazing. I push everybody to go to a small school versus a big school first, especially if you're from a small area.
Yep.
Got very individualized attention there, had a great rodeo team, got to go to the college national finals when I was out there, and it paid for my first 2 years of college. So it really helped because I didn't have those expenses. And
a good transition.
And it was a good transition to go on to a bigger school and move forward.
Too.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So then, did you go to NDSU after that?
I actually went to Moorhead State.
Moorhead State, and got your law degree.
No, Moorhead State, I got a poli-sci degree because Miles Community College was a 2-year school. So I got a 2-year degree there. And then I went off to Moorhead State. And I wanted to go to a lot of different places, but Moorhead State was really good about bringing all my credits over and was one place that I could get my schooling done quicker than I could anywhere else. So I got a poli-sci degree at Moorhead State, and then I went to UND for law school.
So when you incorporated and when started practicing law, there was always an underlying thought about cattle and ranching and you were still rodeoing, but you wanted to have this ranch. How did you tie the two together? I know it was a long journey, but you're tying it together.
Well, the goal of my professional degree or any degree that I went to school for was to make sure I could have a job anywhere I went, and it was also something when it's 40 below that I could be inside,
Right.
and so that's why I went that way. And you can hang out a shingle anywhere. And the law degree also, besides just being a lawyer, it gave me a lot of other opportunities. I've done other things in management and engineering, just because of the skills that I received with my schooling. And so I didn't have to just be a lawyer, and I knew that it had that variability with it. And so it did help me go to a lot of places.
Well, and could I safely say it helps? Ranching's a business, essentially.
Yes.
I mean, having that background helps you run a business
Yes.
a little bit, maybe more efficiently, and bring a different take to it. Maybe that's the way.
I would say being an attorney, one of the things that they really do in school is they teach you to think differently. You think more circular, where an engineer or somebody like that thinks more straight line, or that's the way I always look at it. Especially working with engineers, I thought differently. My thought process was different, and so it brings a different aspect because you look at different circumstances going forward and try to look at more possibilities, and I think it opens up your thinking.
So with that being said, what do you see as creating stability in your ranching production that you're doing right now for the future generation, which Nici has a son, Holden, and he would be 7th generation, we figured?
I think he's 6th generation, and I'm 5th, I think is what we were at.
Okay, so we're outside of Berthold, and just tying that together, how are you going to incorporate the longevity of it?
Well, getting into farming and ranching is not easy. You need a family to do it, and that's one of the things that we are doing. I mean, we're working with my parents, Lynn and Guynelle Meyer, and partnering with them because you can't just start up on your own. I mean, people do it, but it is very expensive. I mean, land, they don't make any more of it.
Right,
There's only so much land out there. So coming together with them and bringing things forward, and with the future, I mean, that's basically our plan, is to leave something for the future generations, and that's what brings stability, is having the family background. A lot of this place, as you're aware, was put together by my great-grandpa Herb Bertzel during the Depression, when everybody was having issues, everybody was losing their farms. Him and his brother put land together. His brother is a big farmer, or was a big farmer, and he went to ranching. And they put a lot of these blocks of lands together and created a place where there's so many of us. My aunt and uncle, Dennis and Gail and Ryan, live up north. Hannah live up north, and they have a place there. And Gary also runs cattle out in this area, my Uncle Gary. So what they built for us is sustaining a large number of families.
And you're able to educate other kids in different venues because you're keeping the rural lifestyle alive.
Yes.
So I think it's safe to say that Mr. Bertzel thought in a circular path. They branched,
I would say
they were
yes.
Farmers branched into ranching, and it coincides well.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's talk, we talked about the attorney and your education, tying it with agriculture. Let's talk about rodeo a little bit. How has that always been your outlet? You've always barrel raced, you've always had a love for horses. Ever since we were little, I do have to tell you a story. When I was little, I got to see Nici's horse collection at our grandpa's, and it was like thousands of those porcelain horses in a basement where there was dirt, and I was like, did I die and go to heaven? And it was all yours.
I still have most of those horses.
What are they called?
The Breyer model horses.
That's
Yes,
right,
I have most of them. I'm missing a few, but I still have, because after a few moves and stuff like that,
it was a collection.
It was a collection, and I still have them. Some of them are sitting in Holden's room now. He played with them when he was little. This is going to go back to, again, Herb and Daryl, and Jerry. Jerry Meyer and Herb Bertzel. You go back to this area and you've seen stories of the chariot races and stuff, and they branched off from Herb going to chariot races when he was in his younger years to us having a PMU line or a mare line, which they used to take hormones for humans and stuff like that, and harvest hormones from those mares. And it was like, well, we have all these mares, what do we do with them? And they decided to start Figure 4 Rodeo Company. And so they hauled us around to all the rodeos. The grandkids went to rodeos, and we worked at all the rodeos when we were little. We had to do all the odd jobs. We kind of bargained to what we got to do and what we got out of it, but we were just involved. So that naturally led to pretty much all of us rodeoing as we grew up.
What was your favorite job there? Opening the chutes?
No, I mean, we our big thing was let us ride bareback in the slack when we cleared the arena, because we didn't want to saddle. We didn't want to saddle in the mornings. And I still remember all the bucking horses got out on Highway 2 during slack at Blaisdell. And Ryan, Hannah, and I were about 7 months apart. We took off.
Ryan's Nikki's cousin.
Yes, we took off on our horses bareback down Highway 2 to get all the bucking horses back.
Did you get them?
Oh yes. Oh yes, we got them.
Dakota Cowgirl right here, not Dakota Cowboy. So anyway, I also want to ask you though, barrel racing, rodeo, we're competitive.
Yes.
How did that give you an edge being an attorney? How could you maybe handle the pressure when you might see other people like, whoa, this is a lot, and you're like, this ain't my first rodeo.
I think just being able to multitask. When you have horses, when you ranch, when you do all this stuff, you can't just do one job. You do many jobs, and you're focused on a lot of things, and your focus is split. And yes, you have to be able to focus on the task at hand when you're in trial or something like that. And that's same with barrel racing. When you're running barrels, you have to be focused on the barrel pattern. You can't be off other places. But when you're out just taking care of other things, there's a lot of other things going on, and you're able to multitask. So it's being able to shut those things down when you need to focus on the task at hand and when you need to go out there and do other things.
That doesn't just happen. I mean, maybe some people do it naturally, but it's kind of a lifelong skill.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily just multitasking, it's prioritizing, because there's so much to do. It's like, what do you have to do first? And I think that's the major thing.
Nikki's son Holden is a cross-event athlete, from playing hockey, football, to steer wrestling and rodeo. Her son also helps her every day alongside her and her husband Shawn Arndorfer on the ranch. Sounds like a very busy household. Nici Meyer and family, thank you, Tisa. Find out more at Dakota Horse Magazine. This is Dakota Cowboy on Beck TV, presented by Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
Improve your home or business with services from Zaka Remodeling and Construction. Whether you need windows or doors repaired, replaced, or installed for your residential or commercial property, Zaka Remodeling and Construction can help. Our local and family-owned business offers flexible hours and over 10 years of experience in the industry. We are your local Pella expert. Pella is rated #1 in highest quality and innovation by homeowners across the country. Feel confident when you choose Pella and Zaka Remodeling. Contact us today for a free estimate. Zaka Remodeling and Construction.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
The dictionary defines community as a group of people living in the same place or sharing common goals. Community is the largest part of our name, and we make it the largest part of our business. We support our local schools, organizations, youth programs, and local events from Bowman to Bismarck, because we all share a common goal to better the quality of life in our communities. Come bank with us at Dakota Community Bank and Trust, your real community bank.
Medora Boot and Western Wear open year-round in historic Medora. You'll find quality items for cowboys and cowgirls of all ages. Medora Boot and Western Wear has over 1,500 pair of boots on hand at all times. New this year, the R. Watson brand of boot, featuring an all-leather heel, riveted shank, and a 10-iron leather sole. Jeans, shirts, hats, caps, and more, and customer service is #1. Medora Boot and Western Wear in historic Medora.
Medora Boot and Western Wear.
We are rewriting Hollywood's script for our kids. I'm pop culture expert Tina Griffin, and as a former Hollywood actress, I'm giving you a behind-the-scenes look at how today's entertainment is eroding the foundational development of America's youth and how to safely navigate this pop culture chaos. Knowledge is power. Parents want solutions. It's time to get the power back in your hands and reclaim the right to decide who and what should influence your kids.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on Beck TV.
Hey, welcome back to Dakota Cowboy here on Beck TV, brought to you by our great friends at Dakota Community Bank and Trust. Remember, without community, they are just a bank. And we are here in Hebron, North Dakota. One of the, I think it's on a list of one of the most mispronounced towns in the state of North Dakota by people that don't know, right?
That's correct.
But this guy knows. This is Bob Tibor. You are one of the original board members of the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. I feel ourselves getting closer and closer to the soul of the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. Here in Hebron, thanks for having us. I know you're a busy guy.
Thank you for coming out.
Yeah. So anyway, we are in your beautiful man cave, if you will, where you spend most of your time. Got your motorcycle here. We're going to talk about your involvement with motorcycles and things. But you grew up in the Hebron area.
Yeah, I grew up right south here, about 18 miles on a ranch. Born and raised on a ranch, and that's my ranch culture, the ranch way of life. It really stuck with me. Had opportunities to work, United Technology Carrier, lead the state, and do that. Didn't really want to do that. I wanted to stay here.
Right, and what were the steps of you getting onto the board at the North Dakota Cowboy Hall ofAme? It's through relationships. Give us a little snapshot of that network that you put together.
Let's go. The networking that we did, it was on Thursday afternoons.
Okay.
Noon's Western Shop. I would be back in town with my job. And Phil Barrett would come over, Evelyn, and we would sit and talk about different things. It started when they were going to the Wiseman Rodeo and things like that, and had a conception. And of course, Phil had this wonderful history of cowboys, and that how can we bring that across? And my point was, we have to learn about our history. We have to pass it on. It's just up to us to pass it on to our kids, our ancestors, that know what happened, how we got here, what's this way of life. And that's kind of really originally started right there in those rooms over there.
The famous story is that on Highway 83, coming back from the Wiseman's Rodeo in Minot, Phil Baird and Evelyn Newens, which one started talking words like North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame first? Was it Evelyn or was it Phil?
Evelyn.
Evelyn.
I really believe it was Evelyn, the way I understand the story. I wasn't sitting with them.
Yeah, she most likely planted the seed in Phil's head, and the rest is the history of the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame and how they shared their excitement with people like yourself and the other original board members. Do you recall, was it Phil that says, Bob, we want you on the board?
Yeah, Phil was, because he could see the interest, and I had the fire that we got to carry this thing on. We got to tell the story. And as history, I loved history in school. U.S. history, world history, any history that was on there. I said there's so many things that our ancestors in our own families that's going to mean something for the culture coming up. And I think that he always seen the fire in that. So Phil said, you're going to be the vice VP if we're going to do this. I said, well, I'll do my best, you know, basically what it was.
Yep. And here on Dakota Cowboy, you might see the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame Hall of Honorees Inductee of the Week, where we take archived induction footage. You might see this guy on there with that hat right up there. You were a big part of the early days. One of the, you know, you and Phil obviously still communicate on a regular basis.
Yeah.
When's the last time you talked to him?
Last week.
Last week, there you go. But there's been some magical moments that have occurred on the hill at Jaden Terrace. One of them involved the symbol of the United States. Talk about that.
The symbol of the United States, but not only that, with Native Americans, and the spiritualism of it is a bald eagle. We were up there on our first induction. I believe it was the first induction that we had on the hill that we really went up there. And Phil and I were standing there, and this bald eagle comes flying around, did a 360 around us, looking down and flew away, and we both looked at each other. We knew at that point we had everything going in our favor. We had, you know, not only the symbolism of the United States of America, but also the spiritualism of the Native Americans of good. You're going to have good things going for you.
Anytime you might know the story, anytime you see a bald eagle, it's a very, very good thing. So a lot of moving parts to the early days of the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. And let's go back even further beyond that. The decision to build in Medora, North Dakota. What was that discussion like, and what were some of the other communities' reaction?
Bowman, Watford City. What we did, we had kind of like a job interviews, you know, and of communities that wanted to hey, let's do this thing. You know, we had Mandan, Kildare, Watford City, Bowman, Dickinson, and of course Mandan. So we scheduled once, I think it was every 2 weeks. I can't remember what it was at that time, but it was pretty close together, and they would come in and present why they wanted to be the people that were going to host the Cowboy Hall of Fame. So we did that whole thing over there, and when it came down to making the decision, it ended up in Medora. And one of the reasons we had to think on how this is going to be, well, it's a little town, it's a tourist thing. Well, it's not a destination of tourists, it's a stop by where they're going to the destination.
At that time. That is slowly changing. Now, another story for another time.
Yeah, but this is in the beginning. And that's how that became, for us, that's our stepping stone. This is it. We had to do that. And of course, then there was design, and we had all kinds of things, and laws and bylaws, and we were doing all kinds of stuff.
A lot of personalities involved in those early days of the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame, but it seemed like it was a machine that worked. It clicked. You guys all listened to each other and shared your ideas, and there wasn't any friction like you hear some stories. I'm sure there were struggles, but for the most part, you all had the same vision.
We had the same vision. One thing we did, we started, which I think they do now, is with prayer, because we knew we had to have a higher power to help us, guide us through this. We all respected, every one of us respected each other's, what they had to bring to the table. And it was kind of one of those things that gelled. We had so many different people that came into this thing, and it just came together. We were like family. I mean, and it's sad now, I think about right now, you know, Jenny, Willard, you know, Evelyn, all those that passed, we were family. We did everything together.
You and Phil remain, and Phil is definitely on our short list of people we want to interview on this program. Then later on, people like Russ Danielson came along.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Phil.
That's Russ. Yeah, we had all these people.
Gene Veter was part of that. Yeah.
Geniac. I had more fun traveling because we would get into it, and Ray Morrell was on there. Well, let's get back a little bit before we even started doing this here. We ended up going out to the Lonesome Dove on Thursday night. And it was just, Jenny was there, Phil was there, myself, Evelyn, and Ray, I think at the time, I think he managed it, Ray Morrell. And he was, again, one of the original board members. We were sitting around a table over there, sitting around there, and, well, we should do this. I reached in my pocket, whatever change or money and bills I had, I threw it in the middle of the table, and everybody did it around us. we got started right there at the Lonesome Dove.
Wow. Speaking of change in your pocket, change really came about when a gentleman named Dale Paulke came onto the scene, and he caught you shared your vision with him, and it caught on with him almost immediately.
Yeah. I speak to Dale. I talked to him last week. When we had this vision, I wanted to see him, and we spent time together down. He was still living at Hebron here, and he was back there in the bank. We'd wait till the banking hours. We'd sit up there till midnight, talking about this vision and to go on there. But Dale was always so community-minded, and especially in the ranch, rodeo, horse culture, all that he was so in favor of, and he helped us so much.
And he continues
and he
to help us.
continues.
Yes.
If you see him, just thank him for all the things he does for the community and for programs like this.
Yep, we appreciate Dale Paulke and Dakota Community Bank and Trust more than you know. Thank you, Dale. And thanks for sharing your vision with him. That was kind of a no-brainer. It just needed to show it to him, and bam, he was in. Yes. Okay, you know, I want to make this very clear that this isn't the first time we're going to visit with you, because we've got so many things to talk about. We want to get you and Phil together on the same segment one day soon, and continue the conversation about the early days of the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. Going forward, last year at our season premiere, you got to see the mortgage get burned. What did that make you feel like, boss?
I knew that the spirits of everybody else in our board was there.
Yeah.
I really did. And we just sat back, and I was just taking this thing in and watching what developed around us. And it was a goal that we had. I mean, we went through, believe me, went through financial struggles a lot. But it was a vision that we had, and it was coming to the point where we can now move on and expand. And I thank God right then and there, because that was only through that way that we did it.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. There's a higher power looking over this. Now, as we move forward, you left the board after 18 years.
Yeah, something like that, 17 and a half, 18 years.
Yeah, and now you saddled up a different horse. You saddled up a V-twin, and you were involved in motorcycles. And, you know, we talked to Dale Myers here a while back about the liaison between riding a horse and riding a motorcycle. And, boy, there's quite a connection there. I think you get the same kind of feeling of freedom. You're in your happy place, if you will, you know, and there's a sense of freedom when you're on the back of a horse and on the back of a Harley Davidson. What is your involvement?
Well, cowboys and riders, I jotted this down when he asked me about how to relate to this. I jotted it down, so I typed it up quick. And you know what, sometimes I wonder if bikers couldn't have been, in previous life, cowboys. From my own experience growing up on the ranch, on the Heart River, I felt free and in heaven when I was on a horse. The same feeling I get while riding a bike, iron horse. The wind, the sunshine, even the rain makes me feel at home. Riding in a group is like riding with my brothers on the ranch, at home and natural, in my element. I believe 5-time Wrangler National Finalist Rodeo Team Roper Coleman and Proctor stated, and he rides motorcycle too, okay? There are only two kinds of people who understand and appreciate the kind of horsepower, cowboys and bikers.
I love it.
I have to steal that from him. It's just awesome.
So would you happen to say that your heroes have always been cowboys?
Oh, yeah.
Talk about the six-pack, Bob.
Oh, the six-pack. The humble of those people. And I was so blessed to have an opportunity to be around them, be around their families, visiting with them, setting them up so we could interview them, but they were all camera shy, so we'd set up a camera way back and zoom in and do our thing.
Really?
But what I learned from them, how genuine cowboy they really were, humble, and with what they did. I mean, these guys were my heroes. They still are, you know, and what they accomplished and what they have done. And their families were so much behind them. That's what I remember. I actually pulled off of all these years a bunch of stuff I'm going to send back with you to go through. You know, I got signatures of every one of the guys, and every time we did something or whatever. But each one had a personality. Each one had their own personality. They were such genuine human beings. I was just blessed to be there.
Do you recall the very first induction when Jim tendered his acceptance speech?
Yeah.
You said humble. That is about as humble as it gets. That was amazing. So, as I said, we're going to visit more. We're going to get together with Phil Baird, the original, one of the original founders of the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame, the first ever board president, and you. And we're going to do a roundtable discussion in the very foreseeable future here on Dakota Cowboy. But Bob, thanks for your time today.
Oh, and wonderful! Thanks for sharing this.
As we
you brought me back to this excitement. Well, we got so many things we could talk about: design, buildings, geothermal.
Yep. But as we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to share with our viewers about your experience with the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame?
That experience actually changed my life on what I believe in. I'm also a National Coalition of Motorcyclists. I'm one of 9 regions in the United States, all of 50 states. We protect the rights of motorcyclists, the freedoms, and that really took me into that step over there. And I just appreciate that. I've been so blessed to be surrounded by such good people. For example, you, and watching your career grow and watching what you have done. To have those good people here in North Dakota is totally, it's just amazing.
To know where you're going, you have to know where you've been, and I look back and see where we've been, and again, I shake the hand of a thank you. I say thank you for all your hard work that you did to establish this wonderful organization, and let's go for a ride, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We'll be back here on Dakota Cowboy in just a moment, brought to you by Dakota Community Bank and Trust. Thank you, Bob Tibor. Appreciate it.
It's time to get educated, people.
And that's just what we're doing on our new show, Educated. Every day we bring you the stories from inside the classroom that mainstream media won't cover.
So stay educated with us. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Central Time on Beck News or anytime online at beck.news.
Welcome to the start of Main Street, the main medical building located at 315 Main, downtown Minot. The unique shops inside offer body and mind healing, a safe haven for mothers-to-be, mixed martial arts, hair salons, massages, counseling services, and much more. Also keep a special lookout for a brand new Jamaican-inspired restaurant opening this fall. Take a stroll inside the main medical building and uncover the unique shops and experiences that lay within. Discover the start of Main Street at the main medical building today.
Hi, Rich from Law Motors. 45 years ago, Dad started selling cars. 35 years ago, I started selling cars. And 15 years ago, Tyler started selling cars.
And I'm Mom, and I told all of them, just be nice.
Whether you have guns, ammo, vehicles, toys, or collectibles, consign with Last Chance Auction and we can help put money in your pocket. Give us a call at 334-SOLD or visit lastchancesd.com for upcoming auctions.
Man has worked in sync with Mother Nature since the beginning of time. Relying on her to provide sufficient moisture every growing season is a roll of the dice. You can now insure your pastures and rangelands with Rainfall Index policy available from Chamely Financial. This will give you the peace of mind by knowing you will be protected from the adverse effects of Mother Nature. Contact Chamely Financial today, 719-338-3428, or go to chamelyfinancial.com.
JR's Auto Body and Truck Collision has built a reputation as one of the most reputable and reliable body shops in this region. With nearly 30 years in business, customers count on JR's to get it done right the first time. They'll work with your insurance company to smoothen the process. From their 40-foot frame straightening machine, Sickens paint, and the latest technology in the repair industry, they're the only name you need to know. For auto, semi, RV, and trailer repair, it's JR's Auto Body and Truck Collision. North Dickinson, call 701-483-6778. JR's Auto Body and Truck Collision. For more than 70 years, farmers and ranchers have relied on Dickinson Ready Mix for all their concrete needs. Whether it's a shop building for machinery storage or paved feedlots for your livestock, grain bins for on-site grain storage, or precast pads for automatic cattle waterers, Dickinson Ready Mix has been there to provide quality concrete for all your agricultural structures and infrastructure. For your next project, call Dickinson Ready Mix to discuss the benefits that concrete can add to your operation.
Hey, we're looking for ideas for our next commercial. Thoughts?
We have a fully stocked lot. Cars, trucks, SUVs?
Clearly.
We strive for honesty, transparency, and a better buying experience.
Of course we do. Guys, think, everybody's busy. Nobody has time to spend hours shopping for a car. Has to be simple, easy.
Sales, service, simplified.
Perfect. Torgerson Auto Center, East Bismarck Expressway. Sales, service, simplified.
And we're back on Dakota Cowboy, presented by Dakota Community Bank and Trust. In this segment, we feature the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame Hall of Honorees Inductee of the Week. And this segment is sponsored weekly by Torgerson Auto Center on East Bismarck Expressway in Bismarck. Their selection of vehicles is second to none. Cars, light and heavy-duty trucks, SUVs, and more, combined with a fantastic customer service rating. It's a win-win situation for you at Torgerson Auto Center, East Bismarck Expressway in Bismarck. Earlier, you might have heard Nici Meyer, as she was visiting with Tisa, talk about her great-grandfather, Herb Birdsall. Well, he is also Tisa's great-grandfather and is our North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame, Hall of Honorees, Inductee of the Week. Herb was born on his family farm north of Berthold on September 11, 1904, and grew up farming alongside his dad and his brothers. Herb's parents had passed away by the time he was 20. He and his brothers grew the family farm into a business, calling it the Birdsall Farm Company, in time bringing son-in-law Darrell into the business. Herb developed the Birdsall Farming Company into one of the largest farming and cattle operations in this part of the world. We go back to the 2017 induction ceremony as board member Shirley Meyer talks about the legacy of Herb Birdsall and introduced Barb Collins-Craft, Tisa Peak's mother, and Herb's granddaughter as she accepts the honor.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's so great to see all you old friends. One of the things I really like about the Cowboy Hall of Fame, of course, other than getting to have supper with Larry Mahan, who's now a close personal friend, everyone who was here last night has the right to say that if you're ever asked. He's a close personal friend. I had supper with him, so. But seriously, one of the things that I really appreciate about the Cowboy Hall of Fame and what we're doing here is the fact that when you have a family member that's nominated to go into the Cowboy Hall of Fame, you're pretty much forced to sit down and write and chronicle the history that otherwise might be forgotten. It's my job here today to introduce Herb Birdsall in the pre-1940s ranching category. And although I knew Herb most of my adult life, I never really knew how many things about him until Barb had the family sit down and start writing it out. And when we did that, one of my funnest memories with this is getting to visit with my father-in-law, Darrell Meyer, and we've had so many enjoyable laughs with this just when I asked him to tell me Herb stories. And he told me this one, and I think it's okay if I share it, but he said, one time Herb was having a little bit of trouble with a horse, and so Mildred, his wife, she walked out of the house and just handed him a gun. So we've had a lot of fun talking about this. It wouldn't have happened, I don't think, had he not been nominated. Ranchers of the pre-40s era grew up in tough times. As the saying goes, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Herb lived through many of those tough times, including the 30s. In spite of those tough times, Herb built a foundation that enabled his family to thrive in the farming and ranching industry. Along with Darrell Meyer, they formed the Birdsall-Meyer Partnership. Their partnership gave future generations an opportunity to grow up in the life that Herb loved, raising and caring for livestock. Herb was a horseman. My favorite memories of all time are sitting in the barn at the figure 4 at the end of the day and just listening to the saddle horses when they start munching on their grain. Herb always made sure every horse was fed before he even thought about walking up to the house for supper. And of course, after putting in a long week's worth of work, riding horseback, you jump in the vehicle and head off to the nearest rodeo or chariot race on the end of the weekend. Herb didn't worry too much about how a horse was bred. He always said, you can't ride papers. But the horses that he rode were well broke and they worked well. They could bring in a heifer out of the pasture in the middle of the night. Herb's horses would just get in this long, steady walk that just covered a lot of ground. You got stuff done. They weren't Doc Bar, and they weren't Docolina. They were Buck and Susie and Albert and Jake. And if any of you happen to see Rodney Nelson around, you can ask him to tell you stories about Jake. When we had a bucking string, a lot of times our saddle horses, we had to load them up in the weekends and we bucked them. But Rodney's got a lot of stories. You can ask him about it. Oftentimes, Herb only rode with one spur. I asked him about it one time and he replied, well, I figure if I can get one side of my horse to go, the other side's probably going to come along. Another quote from Herb that seems so important to remember, especially this year, is, remember, it's always going to rain after a dry spell. Ranchers pride themselves on their hard work ethics, honesty, integrity, and independence. Ethical, honest, integrity, independence. Those 4 words describe Herb Bertzel. I couldn't be prouder to introduce their family to you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Good afternoon, everyone. In 1956, 11 Blaisdell area ranchers met with the idea of building a rodeo arena for the youth of the community. One of these ranchers was Herb Bertzel. Herb spent more than 75 years working on the back of a horse. He achieved the dream of just about every cowboy, which is to own his own ranch. To acquire land and stock it with cattle and horses takes a good partner. Herb met his complement in the neighbor girl, Mildred Wixer. Mildred was kind and soft-spoken. She had a toughness mixed with sensibility and understood matters on the other side of the fence line. Herb had good teachers in his parents, Edgar and Alberta Bertzel, who came to North Dakota in 1902. They were bold and resourceful. They persevered and made a living from the land. Born in 1904 on the family farm north of Berthold, Herb grew up farming with horses alongside his dad and 2 brothers, and they were known as Bertzel Farms. Of the Bertzel brothers, Herb was the cowboy. Herb and Mildred married in 1926, and in 1935 they bought a ranch southwest of Berthold. Being optimists and hard workers with their daughters Jerry, Eleanor, and Merle, they carved out a ranching life. Ever mindful of good business, Herb and Mildred attended cattle shows such as the Valley City Winter Show and State Fair to learn and observe the developing trends and innovations in the industry. Herb's goal was his family and community. He and his brothers Don and Leon were instrumental in bringing power to Western Ward County. He raised his daughters as ranchers. Working hard was a natural for them. They were at home in the outdoors and in the kitchen. They promoted rodeos, were active in the North Dakota Cattlewomen, and won in politics. He had confidence in them. Planning for the future, he kept acquiring land for their own places. In 1950, his son-in-law Darrell became his partner. Many young men got a start working for Herb. They must have liked him. They stayed on for years, and when they married, Herb had a place for them to live as they started their new lives. Herb knew the neighbor boy, Bill McCullough, was interested in horses, cattle, and cowboying. He and Mildred took Bill to watch his first rodeo. It was at Sanish, or perhaps Centennial Butte. Bill saw the Teschers, Dean Armstrong, Casey Tibbs, Pete Fredericks all ride, and others rope. What a treat. 100 miles from home, contestants Bill had read about. He was hooked. Of course, they went home the same day. Herb shared his talent with his grandchildren as he worked with us all on horses. He didn't have any trophy buckles or saddles. He was the backbone, guiding us in our first competitive events. He took us to the horse and cattle sales. Little did we know at the time he was teaching us the skills needed to survive in life and business. Down the road they go in an old red pickup with a stock rack on and 1 saddle horse to the Figure 4 ranch. At 62 and 63 years young, Herb and Mildred were 2 people that weren't afraid to expand. In 1968, along with the Meyer family, they purchased the Figure 4 ranch at Watford City, North Dakota. They had some nice months learning the ranch operations. Then Mildred unexpectedly passed away. This was hard. Herb later married Daisy Haugen, who was also a widow. Now Daisy was as strong of a Republican as Herb was Democrat. You could easily find Herb and Daisy playing a highly competitive game of whist. Like all ranchers, Herb had the concern: horses, cattle, and weather. He was a 36-year member of the North Dakota Stockmen's Association. Herb grew ranching and rodeo into a family business that he passed to the next generations and is still growing today. He had the great fortune as to have lived and ranched on both sides of the river. Today there are 76 entries in the Blaisdell Youth Rodeo. What a tribute. Thank you for this great honor of inducting Herb Bertzel into the pre-1940s Ranching North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame.
You know, thank you, Barb, for getting this going. Wouldn't have been for Barb, this wouldn't have happened. You know, Herb was a cowboy. You didn't see Herb ever in a baseball cap or a pair of tennis shoes. Usually had a kind of a beat-up felt hat that was covered with oil and grease and cow manure and sweat bands, or a straw hat that was all beat to hell and most people wouldn't want to wear, and he was always kind of proud of it. I think that's the way I like to remember him. But he was a cowboy. He was probably the last guy that thought he'd end up in the Cowboy Hall of Fame. You know, Herb was happiest when he was horseback, whether he was heat detecting cows out on the reservation or riding up at Berthel to go get check and see if the bulls were scattered out. He always liked to do something with horses. He was getting a little older, and he'd start colts. He'd get on them down to Tronson Place. He'd cross all these colts and ride them in a grain bin. That was before anybody heard of indoor arenas or anything. And he had one that beat him up pretty bad, and he had his billfold in his hip pocket. And he said that's what hurt him, because he got a little cockeyed. And he said this horse could really buck with all 4 feet hobbled and his head tied down. And the horse, a lot of you guys at rodeos, when we were putting on rodeos in the 70s, would remember him. The horse was Bobby Sox. He became bucking horse of the year about 5-6 years in a row, either in the bareback riding or the bronc riding. So Herb was always pretty proud that he discovered that bucking horse. He rode pretty much every day that he could. When he got older, Dennis rigged up a deal. Herb had been in some horse wrecks and car wrecks over the years, and he couldn't saddle a horse, so Dennis fixed up a pulley system in the barn up at Berthold where Herb could lead his horse into the stall and let that saddle down on and get his horse saddled, and had the gates all fixed so he could go out to the pasture and go check cows without having to get off his horse ever. So he did as long as he could. I think one of the things we talked about, and Shirley said some of his philosophical things, like he always told you it's always going to rain after a dry spell. And another thing that he said that I think kind of holds true, and hope this doesn't offend anybody either, but he always said if you're going to buy horses, never buy a horse from a guy that sits in the front pew at church. Thank you for voting him in. Appreciate it.
Nici, Tisa, Barb, I'm sure you and the rest of the family are very, very proud of our North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame Hall of Honorees Inductee of the Week this week, Herb Bertzel. This segment has been brought to you by Torgerson Auto Center, East Bismarck Expressway in Bismarck, and we will be back in just a moment here on Dakota Cowboy, presented by Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
Okay, we're looking for ideas for our next commercial. Thoughts?
We have a fully stocked lot. Cars, trucks, SUVs.
Clearly.
We strive for honesty, transparency, and a better buying experience.
Of course we do. Guys, think, everybody's busy. Nobody has time to spend hours shopping for a car. Has to be simple, easy.
Sales, service, simplified.
Perfect. Torgerson Auto Center, East Bismarck Expressway. Sales, service, simplified.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear.
Whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get MyPillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. I'm a sixth generation farmer, husband, patriot, father. And as much as I'd love to just sit here under this shade tree and celebrate my own place on my front porch, truth of the matter is that people don't know who, where, and how is producing their food. So travel the country with Trent on the loose, and we'll find those interesting human interest stories behind the people that bring us the efficient food supply. Trent on the loose.
Medora Boot and Western Wear open year-round in historic Medora. You'll find quality items for cowboys and cowgirls of all ages. Medora Boot and Western Wear has over 1,500 pair of boots on hand at all times. New this year, the R. Watson brand of boot, featuring an all-leather heel, riveted shank, and a 10-iron leather sole. Jeans, shirts, hats, caps, and more, and customer service is #1. Medora Boot and Western Wear in historic Medora.
Medora Boot and Western Wear.
Nick Bolton here with the latest from Bell & Howell. We call them tack glasses. Inspired by the sunglasses worn by our heroes in uniform, tack glasses block blinding glare so well, invisible objects suddenly become visible. Enhance colors to give you vision as sharp as an eagle's and survive even the harshest conditions. Look, ordinary sunglasses just make things darker, which could be deadly in a tactical situation. Tack glasses improve optical clarity so you can see clearly, even in low light. If you've never seen how this light filtering technology works, check this out. Nothing to see, right? But look again as we hold up our tack glasses. A colorful American eagle is revealed. Amazing!
Act now to get your tack glasses for just $19.99, and we'll even ship it to you free. So don't delay. Order yours today.
To order, call 1-800-288-9503. That's 1-800-288-9503, or order online at trytackglasses.com. 1-800-288-9503.
Well, another hour has come and gone here on Dakota Cowboy. Make sure you tune in again next week, because with this weekend being the season premiere for the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame, we will be announcing the class of 2023, the new inductees for this year into the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. We'll have that and so much, much more. Thanks again for tuning in. We will see you in the future, if not in the pasture. Adios. This is Dakota Cowboy, presented by Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
We are rewriting Hollywood script for our kids. I'm pop culture expert Tina Griffin, and as a former Hollywood actress, I'm giving you a behind-the-scenes look at how today's entertainment is eroding the foundational development of America's youth, and how to safely navigate this pop culture chaos. Knowledge is power. Parents want solutions. It's time to get the power back in your hands and reclaim the right to decide who and what should influence your kids.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on Beck TV.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. I'm a sixth generation farmer, husband, patriot, father. And as much as I'd love to just sit here under this shade tree and celebrate my own place on my front porch, truth of the matter is that people don't know who, where, and how is producing their food. So travel the country with Trent on the loose, and we'll find those interesting human interest stories behind the people that bring us the efficient food supply. Trent on the loose.
We're the ladies of Another View. Join us at 9 a.m. weekday mornings.
We'll discuss issues you care about from local and national perspectives.
Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Beck TV and online at beck.news.
Beck News is your leader in local. Beck specials and live information for you. Original programming. Exclusive local sports. Beck is local for you. Uncensored topics and uncensored opinions. Unapologetic politics, where all sides are represented. Full episodes online anytime at beck.news. All in one network. Your leader in local, Beck News.